Have you ever wondered, why do some truths only appear when it is too late? What if I told you that there are life lessons that no one taught you, but that were always there, waiting for the right moment to hurt? Life doesn't warn you when it's going to turn upside down. It just does. And when that happens, what's left are not certainties. They're questions. Should I have said no? Did I give too much away? Was silence the answer I ignored? Today, you'll hear things you may have avoided for years. But be careful. These truths were not meant to comfort you, were made to free you. Get ready. What you'll discover can change the way you see the past, the present, and even yourself. When silence screams louder than words, there are times when the world around us seems too noisy. People talking, opinions emerging from all sides, advice that confuses more than helps. But there's a sound no one hears, and that, paradoxically, speaks louder than any words. Silence. It's where the answers we avoid reside, the emotions we pretend not to feel, and the truths that hurt too much to be spoken. When life falls silent, it's not from absence, but from excess. An excess of everything we finally need to hear within ourselves. And only those who have experienced a moment of complete stillness, where even the heart seems to hesitate before beating, know the power this emptiness can carry. Silence is often mistaken for weakness, for escape, for giving up. But in truth, it is one of the purest manifestations of lucidity. When someone stops arguing, justifying, or defending themselves, it doesn't mean they've lost. It may be that for the first time they've understood. The silence that disturbs is the same silence that reveals, and it screams truths that noise masks. Have you ever noticed how, after a loss, a disappointment, or a painful revelation, what remains is not confusion, but the echo of something deeply felt? Post-impact silence is more sincere than 1,000 hastily delivered apologies. Many people try to fill the silence with distractions, social media, TV shows, commitments, external voices. But none of these resolve what only internal confrontation can. Silence forces us to face what we avoid, our fears, our insecurities, our bad choices. And there's nothing more liberating than this confrontation. Because unlike noise, silence doesn't lie. It doesn't embellish, it doesn't soothe, it doesn't try to please. It simply reveals. And when the truth comes from silence, it enters straight into the soul, unfiltered, without any arguments to stop it. Accepting silence as a teacher is recognizing that we don't need more words to understand what our hearts already know. Maybe you don't need more advice, more promises, more justifications. Maybe all you need is to stop and listen to what your own soul has been trying to tell you for a long time. Because there are pains that don't require explanations, only space. There are decisions that don't require courage, just a moment of true listening. And there are paths that only appear when we finally learn to walk within. It is there, in the silence you've so avoided, that lies the truth that will set you free. Before continuing, subscribe to the channel and activate notifications. IR2. Giving too much always comes at a price. Being a generous person is a beautiful act. Giving love, time, attention, care, all of this seems noble. But what happens when giving turns into self-emptying? No one warns you, but there's a fine line between loving and self-denial. When you give too much, especially to someone who doesn't know how or doesn't want to reciprocate, the bill comes due, and you pay the price. You start to feel tired for no reason, sad for no reason, empty even when surrounded by people. This happens because, little by little, you've been giving so much of yourself that you've forgotten about yourself. And the worst part is that the recipient doesn't always realize how much you're losing in the process. There's a dangerous illusion that being good means accepting everything, accepting disrespect, absence, ingratitude, neglect. But that's not kindness, it's self-abandonment. Love, when healthy, doesn't drain you. It strengthens you. And those who truly care about you will never allow you to hurt yourself just to keep them around. Giving too much to those who only know how to take is like filling a leaky bucket. No matter how hard you try, it will never be enough. And in the end, what's left isn't gratitude. It's exhaustion. There comes a time when your body starts giving you warning signs. Your mind collapses, your heart tightens, your patience runs out. And then you ask yourself, why do I feel this way if I've only done good? The answer hurts. Because you've done good for everyone, except yourself. It's hard to realize that some people weren't there for you out of love, but out of convenience. And it's even harder to accept that it wasn't their fault. It was yours, for allowing so much. But recognizing this isn't blaming yourself. It's freeing yourself. It's understanding that you deserve to be cared for too. Healing begins when you decide to choose yourself. Saying no doesn't make you a bad person. Setting boundaries isn't selfish. It's self-care. And loving yourself doesn't mean stopping loving others, but rather stopping being hurt by them. The truth is, no one will truly value you as long as you treat yourself as disposable. Learning to measure how much you give is a sign of maturity, not coldness. Because ultimately, those who respect themselves teach others to do the same. And this, more than a gesture of self-love, is an act of survival. Not every love deserves a second chance. There's a romantic idea that haunts us from our youth, that all true love must be pursued until the end. We're taught to fight, to forgive, to try one more time. But what no one tells us is that not every love deserves a second chance. Sometimes what we call love is just attachment. It's the fear of loneliness disguised as longing. It's the memory of good times trying to erase the constant pain. And when we insist on this return, we open the doors not to a healthy new beginning, but to a cycle of repetition that only weakens us further. A wounded heart tries to revive what has already ended, like someone trying to revive something that died not from a lack of love, but from excessive suffering. Often, we come back not because we still love them, but because we fear facing life without them. And that's not love, it's emotional dependence. Loving someone shouldn't require you to lose yourself in the process. If to be with someone, you have to give up your peace, your self-esteem, your limits, then perhaps the price is too high. True love doesn't constantly make you doubt yourself. It doesn't make you walk on eggshells. It doesn't make you cry yourself to sleep. Healthy love is the kind that makes you grow, not shrink. And any relationship that constantly brings you down, no matter how many flowers it brings afterward, isn't a garden. It's a trap. It takes courage to accept that a second chance sometimes isn't a sign of forgiveness, but a repetition of the pain. Repeating the cycle in the hope that this time it will be different is ignoring the signs life has shown you more than once. Those who truly regret change, those who just want to keep you close, promise. And between promises and actions, there's an abyss where many souls have been lost trying to save what can no longer be saved. Sometimes the truest demonstration of love is walking away. It's looking at someone and saying, "I loved you, but I love myself more now." Liberation begins the moment you choose not to return to a place where you've already been hurt so much, because self-love also needs to be nurtured. When you stop offering chances to those who only know how to waste them, you begin to create space for something new, lighter, and truer to happen. And maybe that new experience will be, for a time, just you and yourself. But this isn't loneliness, it's reunion. Not every love deserves a second chance. But you deserve a life where love is healing, not a wound that reopens with every attempt. 4. Who would you be if no one was watching? We live in a world where everything is seen, evaluated, posted, and commented on. Social media has created a showcase where everyone appears happy, strong, and successful. But behind the screens, the reality is different. The question few ask and many avoid answering is, who would you be if no one was watching? This question seems simple, but it carries enormous weight, because it removes the masks. It reveals whether your choices are truly yours or just a reflection of what others expect. How many times have you said yes just to avoid displeasing? How many times have you pretended to be okay just to save face? The truth is, many live more for others than for themselves. There's an invisible prison when you live according to the gaze of others. And the cruelest part is that often, you don't even realize you're trapped. You mold yourself, fit in, erase yourself, all to be accepted. But there comes a time when your body screams, your soul tires, and the truth overflows. Living under constant surveillance, even if imaginary, prevents you from discovering who you truly are. Because no one can be free when they live in fear of judgment, and no one can be happy being a character in a story they didn't write. Reconnecting with authenticity is a painful but necessary process. It requires letting go of expectations, the courage to disappoint, and the willingness to lose some connections. But the gains are far greater. You win you. When you begin to live by what you believe, and not by external approval, a new kind of peace arises within you. A peace that doesn't depend on likes, compliments, or validation. And that's the most valuable peace there is, because it's yours, and no one can take it away. Living authentically is an act of spiritual rebellion. It's choosing every day to be true to yourself, even if it bothers others. And in the end, you realize, those who truly matter remain, even when you stop pleasing them. Those who drift away were never really there. So, look in the mirror and ask yourself honestly, if no one were watching, who would I be? Perhaps this answer, which only you can give, is the first step toward a lighter, more real, and ultimately, yours life. The weight of pretending everything is okay. Pretending everything is okay can seem easier than facing the truth. It's the forced smile in the midst of pain, the automatic response of everything's fine when your chest is breaking. Society teaches us to be strong, to not show weakness, to hide sadness as if it were a failure. And so, little by little, we distance ourselves from ourselves. Pretending becomes routine. And the more you pretend, the harder it becomes to remember what it's like to be real. Until one day you look inside and no longer recognize yourself. What was once protection has become a prison, a silent prison, where pain grows in the darkness and the soul cries out for help that never comes. This weight is treacherous because it doesn't appear all at once. It builds up little by little. Every time you hold back your tears, every time you pretend to be okay just to avoid worrying others, every time you put others' pain above your own. The problem is that the soul also has limits, and when it tires, it doesn't warn, it collapses. The body begins to speak through illness. The mind becomes lost in anxiety and life loses its luster. Pretending isn't courage. Courage is allowing yourself to feel. Courage is looking pain in the eye and saying, I see you. And even with you here, I choose to continue. Many people live surrounded by people yet feel alone, because no one knows the truth. And how could they if you've never shown it? The fear of being judged, rejected, or appearing weak creates a wall that keeps away even those who truly love you. And the saddest thing is that while you hide your pain, you believe you're protecting others. But in reality, you're distancing yourself from yourself. To be human is to feel. And everyone has moments of failure. To fail to acknowledge this is to deny your own humanity. The first step to healing is to stop pretending. It's having the courage to say, I'm not okay. Not because you want pity, but because you deserve to be free from the burden of maintaining an image that no longer reflects your inner state. When you allow yourself to be vulnerable, you create space for reality, and reality is the only possible path to relief. No one can help you if you insist on hiding your pain, and you don't have to carry it all alone. Sometimes all your heart needs is to be heard, and finally to be accepted with everything you feel, without masks, without filters, without guilt. Before continuing, subscribe to the channel and activate notification 6. If it hurts, maybe it's time to let go. Holding on to something that no longer has meaning is one of the most silent forms of suffering. We cling to people, situations, memories, even ideas about who we should be, all out of fear of the emptiness that comes after. But what no one tells you is that continuing to cling to something that hurts doesn't stop the pain, prolong it, and the question we need to have the courage to ask is, why am I still holding on to this? Sometimes it's habit, sometimes it's hope, but often it's just the fear of facing what comes next. The problem is, by holding on too long, you don't realize how much you're hurting. Letting go isn't giving up. Letting go is recognizing that continuing to hold on to something that only weighs you down has become self-abandonment. It's difficult, of course, because there's love involved, there are stories, there are dreams built on that reality. But when something stops doing any good, when it hurts more than it heals, persisting becomes cruel to yourself. Letting go requires strength that comes from the soul. It's the strength of someone who understands that deserving happiness is more important than remaining loyal to something that no longer makes sense. It takes courage to end cycles. Because there will always be the doubt, what if I had tried a little harder? But this doubt is a trap, because it doesn't consider everything you've tried, everything you've endured in silence. Letting go is an act of respect to yourself, to your history, to your emotional health. And when you finally let go, you realize that what seemed like freedom to the other person was a prison to you. And then, for the first time in a long time, you take a deep breath, and the air enters lightly, without the weight of what you were carrying. Letting go is making space. It's allowing something new to enter, even if you don't yet know what it is. It's trusting that the universe doesn't take anything away without reason, and that if something has left your life, it's because it was preventing you from growing. Attachment is a cycle that fuels pain. Liberation begins when you understand that you don't have to remain trapped just because you've already invested too much. If it hurts, maybe it's time to let go. And if it does, may you have the courage to choose yourself, even if the whole world tells you otherwise. The answer you seek is already within you. How many times have you sought outside what was always inside? Books, advice, videos, gurus, all trying to tell you how to live, what to choose, where to go. And for a while, it even seems to work. But then, the emptiness returns. Because no external answer is enough when what's missing is listening to what your soul is already trying to tell you. The truth is, deep down, you already know. You know what hurts, what heals, what needs to change. But that answer lives in a silent place, and we're so used to the noise of the world that we've forgotten how to access it. It's not easy to look within. There lies everything we avoid: old fears, unresolved choices, pains that never healed. But there lies the key. There, right in the midst of the inner chaos, is the truth that can set us free. And as much as it hurts, the pain of not listening to yourself is always greater. Because it comes with guilt, regret, and that suffocating feeling of living the wrong life. No one knows you as well as you do. So why trust the outside voice more than your own? We often seek answers from those who barely know our story. We wait for someone to tell us what to do, how to feel, when to give up or persevere. But these decisions are up to no one but you. Your intuition, that voice you've learned to ignore, has already warned you before. You felt the discomfort, noticed the signs, had that hunch, and yet you kept going. Why? Because it's easier to outsource your destiny than to take responsibility for choosing it. But true peace arises when you stop running from yourself. The answer you seek isn't in a video, in advice, or in someone else's opinion. It's in your pain, in your memories, in the times you had to stand up alone. It's in your story. It's in your intuition. When you stop asking for permission to live, you start to truly listen. And what you hear aren't orders, they're directions. Your soul knows the way. And when you finally trust it, the world stops being a maze. It becomes a road. 8. What pain tries to teach you, but you insist on keeping quiet. Pain doesn't arrive by chance. It's a messenger. It carries lessons that often can only be learned through it. But most of us don't want to listen. We want to shut it up. We want to ignore it, numb it, avoid it at all costs. But ignored pain doesn't disappear. It transforms into anxiety, fatigue, illnesses that no one can explain. Because what you don't listen to attentively, life repeats in the form of an impact, and the pain returns, stronger, more urgent, begging to be looked at, acknowledged, respected. That's how it screams, when you insist on not listening. The truth is, pain has a purpose. It points out where something is out of place. It could be a relationship that's bad for you, an environment that drains you, a choice that no longer matches who you've become. But, out of fear of change, we pretend not to feel it. We pretend we can handle it, and we push it through until it's no longer possible. Until the body shuts down, the mind collapses, and everything that was a warning becomes a crisis. Pain is a signal, and like every signal, it has something to say. When you learn to listen without judging, without running away, you begin to understand what really needs to be done. Many people think courage is about not feeling pain, but true courage is facing it. It's asking, what are you trying to show me? Sometimes it's a pattern that's been repeating itself for years. Sometimes it's a habit that needs to be broken. Other times, it's just a reminder that you're still alive, and that feeling is part of the process. Pain, properly understood, becomes a compass. It shows you where not to go anymore, who not to be with anymore, what not to accept anymore. And that's when it begins to fulfill its role. Not as punishment, but as a teacher. Silencing pain is denying yourself. It's preventing your soul from evolving. Because as difficult as it may be, it's by facing pain that you transform, that you grow, that you mature, and most importantly, that you free yourself. When you stop fighting the pain and start listening to it, something changes inside you. The burden becomes a message, and you finally understand that it wasn't about suffering. It was about awakening. Pain only wants to show you what needs healing. The rest is your choice. If you've made it this far, it's because there's a quest within you that goes beyond the ordinary. A quiet restlessness, perhaps. A need to understand why life tests us so much. And above all, a deep desire to grow, to heal, to find meaning even in the wounds no one sees. Before continuing, subscribe to the channel and activate notifications. What you heard in this video aren't rules. They aren't ready-made answers. They are paths. They are reflections born of pain, experience, and silence. Perhaps some words bothered you, and that's a good sign. Because discomfort is the first step toward transformation. No change begins in comfort. All evolution requires confrontation, and if any part of this content touched your soul, it's because there's something inside you that's ready to awaken. That's why I want to invite you to join me on this journey. Here, we don't promise magic formulas. What we offer are truths, sometimes harsh, sometimes liberating, but always necessary. If you want to continue nourishing yourself with reflections that go deep, that challenge you, but also embrace you, then subscribe to the channel now. Because this space isn't just about videos, it's about encounters. And maybe it's here that you'll rediscover parts of yourself that have been forgotten along the way. Click subscribe, activate the bell, and more than that, share this content with someone you know needs to hear these words. Because wisdom isn't meant to be hoarded, it's meant to be shared, and when we share, it multiplies. See you in the next video. Until then, remember, you are not alone on this journey.